Good afternoon. My name is Peter Sherris. I am the president of the Rotary Club of Oakland, which is the third oldest Rotary Club in the world. For over 110 years, we have been welcoming Rotary Club members and guests from around the world. And we would like to do that again today. So if you are a guest, if you are from another Rotary Club, please use our chat function to enter your name and your club, or just your name if you're a guest, and we'll recognize you as a guest Rotarian later in the meeting. We open each of our meetings by reciting the vision of our club and of Rotary International. And then we repeat together, Rotary connects us all. So our vision is that together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. Rotary connects us all. Today, we'll focus a bit on international service, and I've asked past President John Gressley, who's been at the forefront of our international service for years, to honor us with his thought for the day. John, are you there?
I'm here, Peter. Thank you.
Thank you.
And in view of the fact that this past weekend was the unofficial beginning of summer, I picked a thought for the day that is an ode to summer, and it's from Betty Reese. You all know Betty Reese, of course. And this is her quote: "If you think you are too small to be effective, you have never been in the dark with a mosquito."
Listen, thank you so much, John. And it's now my pleasure to introduce Michael Bacall. Michael Bacall is a young man who has demonstrated the true nature of international service. He runs an organization that goes to the local people, educates the young people, has them decide on exactly what projects they need to do. And our club has supported Michael for quite a few years. And so, Michael, I understand we are supporting you now in a major way, and I look forward to you telling us a bit about it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Michael. Hey,
Peter. So thanks so much, Peter and John and Gudrun and all of you for this opportunity.
But John and Gudrun, you had something you wanted to tell us about and tell Michael about.
Yes, Michael, Gudrun and I have been fortunate to get to know you and your work in Guatemala with Voces Humanos. And we are pleased to be able to recognize your generous service and support of the youth of Robinal, especially their education, activism, and leadership. We are happy to honor you today with a Paul Harris Fellow recognition.
Michael, the award is named for Paul Harris, the founder of Rotary. In becoming a Paul Harris Fellow, you join a remarkable company of persons throughout the world, all recognized for their devotion to the ideal of goodwill, peace, and understanding. It is a goal of Rotarians the world over, and one that you clearly share.
Now, normally, Michael, in an in-person meeting, we would present you with a Paul Harris medallion, a Paul Harris pin, and a certificate, but because this is a virtual meeting, we'll have to arrange to have those sent to you following this meeting.
Michael, we congratulate you and thank you for your selfless commitment to the work of Voces Humanos y the people of Guatemala. Thank you.
And I just add a comment. We hope that maybe sometime in the future we can spend more time exposing our club to the work you're doing with Voces Humanos.
I don't know if my audio is back, but that's just an extraordinary honor and surprise. And I can't thank you guys. I'm really speechless, but all I can say is that Rotary has been helping Voces Humanos and supporting me personally for the past 12 years. So it's an enormous honor, and I'm just so incredibly grateful that I've had this opportunity to get to know all of you and have the support of Rotary over all these years. So thank you all so much. It's a really, really huge honor. Thank you so much.
You're quite welcome and well deserved.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we heard you well, Michael. And, you know, it's people like you that allow us to actually make good on that vision that I listed. So congratulations. Thank you, John and Gudrun. Thank you, Michael. And I look forward to working with you in the future over the years.
Thank you all so much. And everyone's welcome to come visit us in Robinal when the time is right.
All right, past District Governor Ed Jelen, you know I love calling on you in every meeting, and last week we kept you really busy. I'm hoping, are we going to be able to do this 2 weeks in a row?
Well, not quite as busy, President Peter, but I'm looking for visiting Rotarians. From Long Beach, we have a visiting Rotarian named Salvador. So welcoming Salvador to our meeting, and hope things are well in Long Beach.
All right. Any visitors, non-Rotarian visitors, Ed, that you know of?
None that logged in.
All right. Well,
But if
thank you
there are
very
any,
much, Ed.
welcome to our meeting.
Thank you very much, Ed. We will get back to you next week. This is really Past President's Day. So, Past President Jack McAvoy, you are going to honor another past president today. So please tell us who it is.
You know, Peter, today is a sad day for me personally and for Oakland Rotary and the city of Oakland generally, as we're saying goodbye to one of our most esteemed Rotarians. Iris Brody Lopez is attending her last meeting. She's moving to Arizona. Iris joined Oakland Rotary in 1990. I can't think of anyone who has served on and chaired more committees than Iris. She chaired Enterprise Institute for many years, co-chaired with her best friend, Lorna Padilla Marcus, our annual fundraiser for many years, raising hundreds of thousands of dollars for ORE. She was in the group of the first 5 mentors in the HOPE program in 1994 and continued to mentor other HOPE mentors the next 26 years. She chaired the President's Special Committee and organized the inaugural meeting for multiple presidents. Here are a few other committees she served on, many of which she chaired: Public Relations, Friendship and Hospitality, Entertainment, Long-Range Planning, Community and Youth Service, Diversity, Education Support, Membership Development, Auction, Business Networking, Service to Seniors, and chaired the search committee that hired Pat Williams as our executive director. Wow, is she a busy lady. She served as our 99th president in 2007-2008, and the 3rd female president in our history. She was instrumental in planning for our centennial celebration and hosted a group of Rotarians at her parents' home in Culver City during the Rotary International Convention that year. Our club was featured at the conference as our centennial year approached. I remember being at her home and finding comments for her demotion. I took her parents aside to get some dirt on her. I prodded and prodded. There must be something. Everybody has something. I prodded some more. I got absolutely nothing. She was apparently a perfect child. Something you might not know about Iris: when she was 13, she auditioned for and was accepted at the prestigious American School of Dance. She spent the next 7 years training and performing in various dance and musical comedy venues, including the Los Angeles Civic Light Opera series. She performed with George Chakiris of West Side Story fame, Jane Fonda, and Mary Tyler Moore. Iris lost the love of her life, John Lopez, after almost 40 years of marriage, and more recently, her father and brother. She will be living with her mother in Arizona and promises to visit. In closing, I can think of nothing more fitting than quoting from a letter from Raquel Richardson, her HOPE mentee. Wrote about her a few years ago. Raquel is a Cal graduate who worked many years at the Haas Business School at Cal and is the first in her family to attend college. Quote, "Before Iris, I knew only the poverty, drugs, crime, and violence I witnessed every day in West Oakland. A couple of times a month, Iris would take me from my little world and show me a lifestyle without chaos and dysfunction. Iris taught me about responsibility, self-confidence, setting goals, and being organized. She helped me realize I had potential and just needed to believe in myself to reach it. The sad truth is, Iris was the only adult in my life who was willing and capable of modeling life's basic skills, end quote. Iris didn't just model that behavior for Raquel, she did it for all of us. You will be sorely missed. I'll ring the bell.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you for ringing the bell as well. If there's anyone else that would like to ring the bell, the way we do it virtually is to put that bell ring into chat for Iris. And Iris, I know you're going to miss us, but we're going to miss you too. But I wanted to, we're going to miss you a little bit less because the board of the Rotary Club of Oakland has authorized me to let you know that you are being made an honorary member of the Rotary Club.
Oh
of
my
Oakland.
God. That is so
we are
sweet.
Very happy to do that. Go ahead.
I feel honored. I have enjoyed, I actually started going to Rotary meetings in 1989 and didn't join until 90 because I wasn't sure I could live up to the attendance requirement. And 31 years later, I'm sad to say that I'm leaving, but not because I don't love everyone in Rotary and all the work we do, but because it's the right thing for me to do right now.
Well, we understand, and as an honorary member, you will stay connected to the club. You'll keep getting emails and requests for money and all that stuff that we do. So we're proud to do it.
And I
we
will
look forward to hearing from you periodically and to you visiting us. So thank you very much, Iris. You've been a big inspiration and help to me personally, and so I want to thank you as well. And I will ring the bell in your honor as well.
Thank you.
All right, Christine Watson. Speaking of hardworking, amazing people that make my job so much easier, are you excited?
President Peter, I am. I'm saddened to hear that Iris is leaving, and I do want to say thank you for everything you did to help get this year's gala off to a good start, and I really do appreciate your support. And President Peter, I have a question for you before I get started. Go ahead and put up the slide for me on the line, please. Thank you. President Peter, if
Yes,
you
ma'am.
know how many raffle tickets have been sold as of today, I will buy a raffle ticket in your name.
I have to guess how many raffle tickets have been sold.
There you go.
103.
All right, really close, but no cigar. I want everybody to know we got 105 tickets sold, so that doesn't always mean it's 105 people, so there's plenty of room for extra. And today during our session, I would like us to get to 120. So if everybody would use their chat box and get in practice for this weekend and go ahead and buy tickets, that would be great. Sorry, Peter. I have an auction update for everyone. Next chart, please. There is no fee and no ticket required to participate in the auction this Saturday. You don't have to do anything but click on the Zoom link and show up at 5:30. So I want to make sure everybody understands. But a few things I want to share with you about the auction today. You will need to register in order to actually bid. So we'd like to suggest that everybody register before May 30th or early in the day, just so you can get the feel of the system. And it's pretty easy, but go ahead and register beforehand. And I want you to know that only about half of the items have been bid on. So there's plenty to go around. For the vacations, this is a great update. We have local drivable vacations, and they're getting the bids. just so you know. But the second round of bidding, they haven't, gotten to the top yet. So there's still room for you. And by special arrangement, almost all of our vacations that require airplanes to get to, that's like, for instance, New York or Mexico, Kauai, Maui. If you are the winning bid, you will have 2 years to execute on your bid. 2 years. So that means that from June 1st, 2020 to June 1st, 2022 is the length of time you have to actually exercise or take your bid. Some of our donors have actually offered to extend it to December 30th, 2022. So 2.5 years to make good on this. We're going to beat anything that's in our situation around us, and hopefully everything will be back in order and flights will be out there. So keep that in mind. I do encourage you to just read the terms underneath the biddable item to get the exact situation for your selected vacation. Bidding will stop on Saturday at 6 p.m. So everything you want to do can be done 24 hours a day on your laptop, your computer, or your smartphone until 6 p.m. on Saturday. Now, regarding the gala, the second update I have for you, again, there's no tickets, no fees, everything is free. We're encouraging everybody to come to the gala. And if you are coming, we'd like you to do a registration on our club website, just like always for every event. That's just so we can know how many hors d'oeuvres to put up on the screen. Click, click, click. We can promise you, if you come, you don't have to bid, but you can also participate in the fun, the surprises, and the entertainment. A reminder, for those of you who come to the gala, we are having our best dress from the waist up contest. This is our first time ever doing this, so we're looking forward to some great costumes and outfits, and you might win a prize for being the best dressed. I want you to be sure to invite your friends by email so that we can send them, you can send them our link to the party. Remember, no fees, no tickets, just send them the link and your friends can come and join us on the gala. I want to thank you to the live auction gala team, the people who were helping us in January, guys, for this fundraiser, and the virtual gala team members, and that includes Iris and Joy C. Mack and Greg Knight and Pam Bellchamber and Marty and Dudley and Tom Limon and Leanne Alameda. Lorna, Diane, been so good at giving behind the scenes advice, and Sess, Pat, and Peter. So thank you all. I'll see you guys on Saturday. I'm so excited.
All right, Christine, thank you very much. You've done a magnificent job. You planned 2 galas and has done anything. And so we have included in the chat section links to the registration for the bid. So if you want to bid, you can click that link, go to the bidding owl and do it. We've also included links to the Club Runner site where you can RSVP that you will attend. You click on that, fill it out after the meeting. And so thank you, Christine. I want to remind everybody that we do a yearly member satisfaction survey that is available. I have just sent the link to that survey on the chat section. You can go to that chat, click on the link. It'll open it up in your browser. When the meeting's over, you can go and fill out that survey. All right. So we're running a little bit later than I'd wanted, but breakout sessions, breakout rooms are very exciting part of this. We know that other clubs have tried them, and I am going to click a button in a second and create breakout rooms and send you all sort of randomly to a breakout room where you can have a little more intimate chat. with 60 seconds before we come back, you will get a message. You can bring your conversations to a close. And so I hope you enjoy these social time in these breakout rooms. Here we go. All right. Welcome back. 76 people are visiting this meeting. Walter Hood, you're a popular guy. I hope you enjoyed that. We'd love to get some feedback from you. If you really like those breakout rooms, we will continue to do them and maybe try to make them longer. So regarding questions will go into the chat box. So if you have questions for our speaker, and I'm now going to introduce Tristan Connor. Tristan, I think you're muted. We need to get you unmuted. There you go. I just did it. Who will introduce Walter?
Great. Thank you, Peter. Well, I'm honored to introduce Walter Hood. Walter is the creative director and founder of Hood Design right here in Oakland. Since 1992, his studio has completed a plethora of social art and landscape design projects all across the US, including many well-known sites in Oakland. He's worked on the Oakland Museum of California, Lafayette Square Park, and Splash Pad Park. Walter's work strives to highlight existing site elements, honor the communal history of a place, and enrich the lives of current residents. And this approach has resulted in numerous awards for his firm and for Walter himself. He's earned a Dorothy and Lillian Gish Prize, an Academy of Arts and Letters Architecture Award, a MacArthur Fellowship, a Knight Public Spaces Fellowship, and an American Institute of Architects Award, among others. Walter is also a professor of landscape architecture, environmental planning, and urban design at UC Berkeley. Please join me in welcoming this accomplished artist and educator. Walter, thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, thank you all. And hopefully the Splash Pad group is here. And I'm going to change to my screen right now. Can you hear me, everybody? I'd like to share with everyone today 2 projects. I talked to David Stein, my lawyer, that maybe 2 projects in a short time might be a good way to introduce the work that we do. The first one is located on the East Coast. There are 2 museums. It's a Confederate Charleston. I hope many of you have been to Charleston, South Carolina. I'm from North Carolina, and I hadn't really understood the impact of history on a town and a group of people until this project. Charleston's a very interesting place. This map is showing Mother Emanuel, where we had a massacre a few years ago, which is this small dot. The site that we're working on is right on the Charleston Harbor, and it's located right here to the right. The name of the project is the International African American Museum. And it will be an international center for learning where families and groups will advance their understanding and appreciation of African American history and American history as we know it today. Now, many people don't know Charleston is a fantastic place where the African diaspora actually began, for at least what we think, close to 50% of African Americans will have their heritage traced back to this site. Last year, we had a grand opening for a groundbreaking where we had actually sister mayors from West Africa come and bless the site. The site is located on Charleston's neck, which sticks out into the harbor. It was a forgotten site. I always ask the question is, how can you forget something this complex? Again, this is where we think half of all African Americans, his heritage actually landed here. The site was discovered less than 10 years ago. The map that actually shows Gadsden's Wharf, we were able to find in the history books and able to sort of trace back that this was one of the largest wharfs during the last years of slavery. Here, as you see this little box here, this was the warehouse. And the way things worked was slaves would come in from the Middle Passage. They would be out on the islands. They would then be washed off, cleaned, quarantined, then brought here and placed in storehouses to be bought and sold. As we know, many perished here. The food chain along the bay changed, and this history was hidden forever. Today, it's a park. People walk their dog, as you see this person out here. Condos are built around it, and it's basically a tourist area. The new museum will be a levitating building designed by Harry Cobb, who recently passed away. He's part of Pay Cobb Freed. They've done many museums around the world. And it will be a place where we've developed a memorial, and this memorial is to our ancestors. The landscape will be free from building. The black dots you see are columns. The building sits up because this is a hurricane zone. And to the north, we will tell the story of the low country landscape. Underneath the building, it will be a ceremonial space. And to the south, if you see, the warehouse will be, how can I say, commemorated, along with a set of exhibitions. To your right, along the edge, will be a new fountain that will lift up the harbor, the water from the harbor, and bring it up on the deck. We sit about 8 feet above sea level right now. At night, like most places in Charleston, this will be a public landscape, a place where people can walk through just like you walk through the cemeteries and churches. As you enter on the back side, the ground rises up, almost to agitate, to let you know that there's something different here. All of the ground paving is made of tabby. We've been able to secure shells from the Atlantic Ocean from the bottom that will actually be part of the paving material. As you look back, as the ground rises up, it takes away the city. The columns actually become part of the shells, and it's like the building literally levitates and the ground becomes this heritage site. We talk about the low country through planting of sweet grasses. This is where local natives actually make baskets from. Various tribes will be commemorated from Africa through the sound installation piece. And we will have an ethnobotanic garden where we will talk about okra, sweet potatoes, and things like that that came directly from that diaspora. Sweetgrass is one of the main sort of products that the colony produced here. Carolina Goal, which created $1 billion economy here. Charleston, most people don't know, was the first urban city in America and one of the richest. And then as you look back to the south, you see where the warehouse was located, and there on the wall we'll talk about and commemorate those who passed away here. One entry into the site is through those 2 walls, and we're casting figures of what's called rice Negroes. And these were small kids who had the sickle cell trait, who were able to work in the field for hours without contracting malaria. And at night, this will be a solemn place, a place of remembrance. And then we wanted to talk really about the Atlantic crossing and the graphic that was produced that created, again, this amazing debate about the slave trade, particularly in the North. And so as part of this, we wanted to sort of look back out to the bay and really bring the Atlantic crossing right up to the building. And by doing this, I was able to sort of locate this cartoon that's out on Sullivan's Island that is part of the museum. And I really like the tapestry of this. It's the same map, actually, as the Brooks map here, but it's been Xeroxed over and over. And I like that kind of quality where male and female were discernible. And so we're raising the water up again on the top of the dock to create what we're calling an infinity fountain. And in this infinity fountain, we're again collecting shells. And these shells then are going to be placed in full-scale bodies, because the Brooks map is basically showing figures and how the figures were actually loaded. Figures of humans were actually loaded into the hull of the ship. These were our first sort of casts of the bodies. These are 6 feet by 3 feet. Now we're actually using a more ingrained sort of material and placing the shells by hand in each one of the figures. This will actually fill up with water as the fountain rises and falls down. And here's a mock-up that we just produced, looking at the quality of the shells and the edges. So you can imagine this kind of seriality of bodies laid about 40 meters wide. And then along that edge, there will be a stainless steel edge that marks the demarcates where the edge of the wharf existed. And then looking back out to the bay, as the water rises up, it'll fall out and you'll get the bodies. And this will take about an hour in each turn. So you might come into the museum and you might just see water and come out and you'll actually see the carcasses, the bodies laid, looking back out towards the Atlantic crossing. So enough of that heavy stuff. So on the East Coast, we have something really heavy. This project is under construction. It should be open next fall. Florida didn't shelter in place, so we actually continued construction. More closer to home is the Oakland Museum, which is a project we've been working on for the last 5 years. And I like to think about the city of Oakland as having two centers. And this is what this drawing is showing, is the museum, we think, is the heart of the city, not CBD at 14th and Broadway. And what this creates is a new town square for Oakland. And if you've been down by Lake Merritt, the Civic Arena was once this sort of focal point to the lake, and it's kind of lost its grandeur over time. It's being redeveloped as we speak. But if we look at the history over time, the museum basically opened at the wrong time. It opened in 1968. And as we know, in 1968, the county courthouse was, this is where Huey was being on trial, and so they delayed opening. It was going to be a free museum open on all sides. It wasn't able to do that. Working with the director, we went into a process of rethinking how the museum works, and we took the museum through a process of discovery, one of rethinking their place in the city and how the city can relate to them. The museum sits right here, Civic Arena is here, and downtown is to the top. This is, again, looking from downtown back towards the museum. The city and the museum was the first idea we talked about, and this notion that the city can be experienced in a lot of ways. Most people think that you have to go down a street to get to a place, but in your mind, mentally, you see the places before you get there. And sometimes it really doesn't matter what you have to go through to get to those places. Again, there are lots of gardens that occur around, Stanford House, the Bonsai, Children's Fairyland, Kaiser Roof Garden. And what we're trying to do with the museum is to get them to kind of see that they hold a collection, and that through this collection, they can actually begin to, how can I say, make the city be part of the museum. We went through a series of exercises, breaking the box, site curation, the garden in the museum as infrastructure, and the city as the museum. And these are just some images I'll go through to show the process. And this is typical for the work that we do. And one of the beautiful things as part of this process, we took the museum docents and employees on a walk in downtown. Most of them never had left the museum and walked through the CBD. We spent about 3.5 hours, and it was really wonderful because we were able to see things. And then we mapped those trips. And from mapping those trips, we were able then to talk about the capacity of space and how all of the spaces work. And we took about 4 trips around the lake. And what we found was if you came to the museum, you could actually go off and walk 1 mile to 3 miles in either direction and find interesting things. And this was a very powerful set of ideas for the museum because, as you guys know, if you've ever been to the museum, it's an enclosed fortress. And this was intentional. And this is a note from Architectural Record from 1970. It was really about the study of art, culture, and natural history to be contemplated in nature. So the building itself was supposed to be a landscape. And we found images of that lower piece. This is down by 12th Street, right by the lake. Very early, it was actually not going to be a wall. It was going to be open. And we don't know why it changed, but we think a lot of the issues around safety, race, civic, presence and all of this, as well as the brutalist construction that was going on. This is the museum today. Today, the museum is, what can I say, a lot of the plants are on the edge of their lives. This, you have to remember, was one of the first green roofs in the country. Kaiser was proclaimed the first green roof, but this was the first time that people had really thought about putting plants on top of a museum, which meant you have water and things like that. And what we're discovering is some of these planters are like 12 inches deep, and which we didn't know beforehand. Our idea is basically to keep what we call the landmark trees. These will be our redwoods and our oak trees and our olive trees, and we will take out most of all of the other vegetation. We will then come in and actually build an ecology over time. By cleaning the planters, adding new dirt, everything will be worked on site. We'll be able to produce a much more ecological reinforced planting. And then hopefully in the springtime, you will get poppies, ground covers and things like that over the first 10 years that actually create the soils while the trees actually start up and come through. We're looking at using the California ecotones as a way of thinking about each level. So you'll come in at various levels and learn about different ecologies of California, from the Mediterranean to the low desert, to the woodland, to the coastal forest. And they have a relationship with the section, meaning if you go from the ground all the way up. This is what it looks like when you put all of those pieces together. Here's the plan. Again, what you see on the right-hand side is Lake Merritt Way. This is a new pedestrian walkway. There won't be any cars coming between the Civic Arena and Oakland Museum, so you'll be able to walk directly to the museum. We're doing an opening here at the top, what we're calling the garden entrance. This is called Rochelle Court. This will be open. We're now cutting holes in it as we speak. On 10th Street, there will be a new restaurant. There's a hole cut into the wall there, and there will be a new ramp that will take you up. So there's 2 new openings that will go along with the Oak Street. So on all sides now, you'll be able to come into the museum. This is the existing exterior, the new exterior with the planting. This will be a radical shift from the eucalyptus trees and things that are hanging over right now. And this will be in the first few years. Again, the entry coming in, beginning to provide more, again, succulents, plants that really are part of that low desert experience. And as you make your way around to Terrace 3, that experience will be complete. Again, trees that don't need a lot of water. There will be a new sort of cafe area here. This will tie you directly to the restaurant, so you can bring your wine out and actually have a view back across to the lake. And then on level 2 coming down, this will be the new sort of woodland area coming in. This will have more passive uses and things that are flowering and changing. And then the lawn is our big change. If you've been here on Friday nights, families and things come here, kids run around. And so we're actually making the lawn more pronounced, adding a stage and new plantings around it. Here's the view of the existing lawn with the walks going around. And now this will be the new picnic tables, new stage, new theater, and places for people to sort of move around. The stage will be a piece that can actually work in a lot of different ways. When there's nothing going on, it actually becomes a place to see, a place for kids to play around on, and then there could be performances and things at night. And then from the stage looking back out, the tiers of the planting actually become a natural amphitheater. And the piece de resistance is the existing corner. You guys have probably seen this a million times and went, what is that? We're actually opening it up. This is a big piece for the museum because now, as hundreds of people are coming around the lake, you can actually go right into the museum. And what most people don't understand is Oakland Museum is free. You can go in and experience the gardens without going into the museum. So this will become part of that park landscape. And today, this is what construction looks like. And this is the point we wanted to make. When you clear everything away, you get the hills, you get the lake, and you can actually begin to see the lake in between Rochelle Court. And then when you come up to Rochelle Court, the water will be right there for you to touch. Thank you so much. Hopefully that wasn't too fast.
Thank you, Walter.
Tried to get it all in.
Thank you very much. That's very exciting stuff, and so I'm looking forward to visiting the museum. It's going to be absolutely amazing.
No, it's really exciting that the museum really. I mean, we had to work with the city. You can imagine even thinking about security and all of that. There are a lot of issues coming up, but we think it's the best thing, particularly how the lake has taken off. And we had a bond measure that went out that we invested so much money in this place. And so what better way to have these pieces begin to connect to it?
Yeah. So Walter, was this funded publicly through the bond measure?
No, this was fundraising. I've talked to so many donors. So the museum had 2 campaigns. 10 years ago, they had one campaign to do the entry on Oak, and then they've had another campaign the last 10 years to raise money for this.
Allison Bliss wants to know, when's the anticipated opening date?
Next year. We had to shelter in place, so we're a little delayed. We were hoping to open this fall. I think it's probably going to be pushed to the first of the year. We've just started back working 2 weeks ago.
And then Kimberly Cohen, I think probably referring to the Charleston. I assume everything is intentional, so thoughtful, from those recessed figures to more hopeful, elevated imagery. Is the symbolism for the building being levitated, or is it primarily for practical reasons?
Any building located on Charleston Harbor has to be elevated because the ground floor has to be vacated because of hurricanes. But the architect really wanted the landscape to speak. And so I didn't talk about it, but the columns are actually 6 feet wide. So the columns are really wide, and the architect really wanted to feel like the building was levitating and the landscape was hollow ground.
Uh-huh. Okay, I think here's from Ed McFarland. Fantastic presentation. Thank you, Walter. Oakland deserves this quality of place. Anna Marie Jones wants you to know this is a brilliant presentation. And Ken Katz says it's a wonderful presentation.
Hey, Ken.
And they love to share this in the Splash Pad News. All right. So I think I don't see any more questions. So I will take this opportunity to thank you again, Walter.
No, thank you.
So that one of our goals in Rotary is to eradicate polio. And we have been working on this since 1987. And we are this close. And so in your honor, we will be making a donation to our End Polio Now campaign, so you can remember that you are part of this effort to eradicate for the second time in history, a disease from the face of the earth. And one thing I want you and our members to know is that the infrastructure that we have been using to track polio and to identify where it starts is all being utilized now for COVID-19. So when you make investments like this, you may be working on one thing, but you have other effects that are going to be profoundly impactful for future problems and diseases to come. So thank you, and I hope you feel good about that donation we'll be making.
That's awesome. Thank you.
All right.
We're privileged. Thank you.
Celeste Gordon, are you muted? Or are you available? You are muted. You're now unmuted. I just took care of that.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
How are you?
I'm great.
You've had you actually look like a post to very few of the rest of us.
So I'm giving the teaser for next week, and I want everyone to know that we're extremely fortunate to have Jen Johns. She's a fiercely talented recording artist, and her brand of music is Afro Diaspora World Music. She's also an activist in human rights and food justice, and she's collaborated with artists such as Lauryn Hill, Ziggy Marley, Gil Scott-Heron, and she'll be bringing us her work and inspiration around what she does around healing with communities in performance, installation, visual arts, and choreo poems. And she'll also be telling us about her FUN manifesto. So make sure you don't miss it.
All right, and so part of the reason we wanted Jen to come is next week we are celebrating our Cerrone Lena Scholars, the new class for this year. And so we wanted to have a speaker who would have something to say that we thought the young people would be very interested in as well. So there's two reasons for coming to next week's meeting. So Celeste, are you going to be coming to our Zoom gala dress-up party?
Of course I will.
Yes, because remember that last year or the year before, I can't remember what it was, you did the whole fashion statement that I ignored. You're always such a stylish lady.
Oh, thanks.
We
have a lot of stylists in the group.
All right. So let's see. I want to thank everybody who participated today. Thank you very much, Walter. We really enjoyed that presentation. I know we're all looking forward to visiting the museum.
Peter.
Please remember. Oh, Pat, that's right. I forgot you, didn't I? What you got, Pat?
Well, I thought people might want to hear about Iris's bell ringers. I counted 25.
Yes.
25. So here goes. Joe Garalka, Leon Alameda, David Stein and CJ Hirschfeld, David Kittner, Julian Lowe, Fred Worst, Jack McAbee, Alex Polson, Shannon Hackley, Stephanie Kazenza, Sean Callum, John Dolby, Michael Bruck, Lorna Padilla Marcus, Mary Rudzer, Ralph Sklar, Ed Jellin, Seth Butner, Gudrun Dibble and John Gressley, Rick Draper, Peter Sherris, Bob Barth, Pat Williams, Phil Campbell, and Wise Allen. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Iris, for raising $2,500 for our club.
Yeah, so as case, if you're visiting the club, a bell ring, unfortunately, I'm in Seattle, I don't have a bell with me here, but a bell ring is a $100 donation to the Oakland Rotary Endowment. So thank you very much for that. We hope to see you Saturday night at 5:30 for our ORE Dress Up virtual Zoom gala. And don't, go ahead, Pat.
Okay, there are a few more. Daniel Chang and Dudley Thompson and Lita Scola. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you very much. And please fill out your member satisfaction survey. There is a link to that in the chat box. All you have to do is open the chat box, find that link, I'll repost it, and then click it. It'll be in your browser and you can fill it out. And with that, this meeting of the Rotary Club of Oakland is adjourned.